palace doors burst open with a loud crack, and the bowl slipped from Princess Nkiru's hands, shattering against the clay floor. Hot soup splashed across her feet, and the laughter came instantly. Sharp, careless, cruel. "Careful," someone shouted. "The ground might sink under her weight." Nkiru froze. The hall was full of voices now, echoing, bouncing off walls that suddenly felt too small. She bent slowly, trying to gather the broken pieces, her hands shaking. "Leave it," another voice sneered. "She'll eat it anyway." More laughter. Louder this time. Nkiru straightened, her chest tight, her throat burning. She wanted to speak. She wanted to scream. Instead, she swallowed hard and walked away barefoot, soup dripping down her ankles, pretending she could not hear the whispers following her like flies. That night, the moon rose full over Ifara, and Princess Nkiru sat alone beside the kitchen fire, chewing roasted yam long after everyone had gone to sleep. Food did not laugh at her. Food did not turn away. From the day she could walk, Nkiru had been larger than the other children. Where they ran, she lingered. Where they played, she watched. She loved the hearth, the sound of bubbling pots, the smell of palm oil and pepper. The kitchen women shook their heads but smiled at her. "She has a good heart," they would say, "too soft for this world." But the world was not soft with her. By the time King Obasi sent her to Ivory Reed Academy, the whispers had grown teeth. On her first day, she entered the courtyard with her head held high, dressed in fine woven cloth, hoping her smile would be enough. It was not. "Look," a girl giggled. "The princess swallowed the drum." Another added, "If she falls, the ground will cry." Zainabu stood at the center of them all, slim and sharp-eyed, her voice sweet and poisonous. "Do not mock royalty," she said loudly, then turned to Nkiru with a false bow. "We are honored by your presence, all of it." Nkiru laughed weakly, hoping it would end there. It didn't. During meals, the benches filled quickly, leaving her standing with her tray. During games, teams formed without her name being called. When she finally spoke in class, someone mooed softly, and the teacher pretended not to hear. At night, she pressed her face into her pillow and whispered to herself, "Maybe tomorrow will be better." Tomorrow never was. One evening, she returned to the palace earlier than usual, her eyes swollen, her shoulders slumped. King Obasi noticed at once. "Nkiru," he called gently. "Come, sit with me." She hesitated, then sat at his feet beneath the udala tree. For a long moment she said nothing. "They laugh at me," she finally whispered, "everywhere I go." King Obasi's smile faltered. "Who dares?" "Everyone," she said quickly. "Please don't punish them. That will only make it worse." He knelt before her, lifting her chin. "My daughter, listen to me. A clay pot does not know its worth until it holds water. You are not empty." Her eyes filled. "Then why do I feel so broken?" King Obasi had no answer that night. By the time Nkiru left the academy, she no longer argued with her reflection. She avoided mirrors altogether. She stayed indoors. She ate more. Each bite was a quiet rebellion against a world that had already decided what she was worth. When she reached marriage age, the palace prepared as tradition demanded. Drums were repaired. Goats were fattened. The elders waited. No one came. Days passed, then weeks. Finally, the advisors gathered before King Obasi, their faces heavy with truth. "They fear her body," one said softly. "They want a queen that looks like a carving, not a calabash." The king rose so fast his stool toppled backward. "Then they are blind." Still, desperation pushed him to speak words he never thought he would utter. "Announce it," he ordered. "Gold cowries, a stone house in the capital, an iron chariot. Any man who marries my daughter shall have them all." The kingdom buzzed. Suitors arrived in fine robes, their smiles wide and hollow. King Obasi tested them quietly. When one spilled soup near Nkiru's feet and refused to help her clean it, he was dismissed. When another praised only her teeth and asked about the house, he was sent away. Nkiru watched it all in silence, each rejection cutting deeper than the last. One night, as she wept by the palace gate, a voice spoke behind her. "Princess." She turned. The gatekeeper stood there, his lantern low. Tambe, a man she barely noticed before. "You should not cry alone," he said. She scoffed bitterly. "Then I should cry where everyone can see." He shook his head. "You should cry where someone listens." She studied him. "Why do you care?" "Because I have watched," he said simply, "and because pain should not be entertainment." They stood in silence, the night thick between them. "I cannot change how they see me," she said at last. "No," Tambe replied, "but you can change how you see yourself." She laughed, harsh and tired. "Do not lie to me." "I would never," he said, "but I can help you if you allow it." She looked at him then. Really looked. There was no hunger in his eyes, no calculation. "What do you want in return?" she asked. "Nothing," he said. "This must be for you." Hope stirred, small, dangerous, and for the first time in many moons, Princess Nkiru did not eat to fill the ache inside her. She listened. The first morning Tambe came for her. The sky was still dark, and the palace was silent except for the distant cry of a rooster. Nkiru almost pretended she was asleep. Her body ached from years of stillness. Her mind whispered excuses. This will fail like everything else. She rolled onto her side, pulling the cloth over her head. Then she heard his voice, calm but firm, outside her chamber. "Princess, the sun does not wait for fear." Her chest tightened. She sat up slowly, heart pounding. For a long moment she stared at her hands. Then she stood. When she stepped into the courtyard, Tambe was already stretching, barefoot on the earth. "You walk first," he said. "Nothing more." "That's all?" she asked suspiciously. He smiled faintly. "If you run before learning to stand, you will fall." They walked the palace perimeter in silence. After only a short distance, her breath grew heavy, sweat forming along her neck. "Stop," she gasped. Tambe stopped instantly. "Good." She blinked. "Good. You listen to your body," he said. "That is the first lesson." Each dawn after that, they walked a little farther. Some days she complained, some days she cried. Once she snapped at him angrily. "You don't understand," she said, tears streaking her face. "People stare. They laugh. They're waiting for me to fail." Tambe met her gaze. "Then do not perform for them. Perform for the woman you want to meet one day." "What woman?" she whispered. "The one who does not apologize for existing." The palace noticed. Servants whispered as Nkiru passed them, sweating instead of hiding. Advisors frowned. Zainabu laughed loudly when she heard. "She thinks walking will change her fate?" she scoffed. "Let her try. The ground remembers her weight." The words reached Nkiru's ears like stones. That night she found herself standing before the mirror. Tambe insisted she keep uncovered. Her reflection stared back, round face, tired eyes, doubt etched deep. "Say it," Tambe had instructed earlier. She shook her head. "I can't." "Say it anyway." Her lips trembled. "I am not broken." The words tasted strange, false. She said them again, louder. Something inside her cracked, not her body, but a wall she had built for years. The training grew harder. Tambe introduced stretching by the river, breathing with counted rhythms. "Food is not your enemy," he told her one afternoon as she hesitated before a bowl of yam. "Hate eats deeper than hunger." But they said, "They lied," he cut in. "Eat with intention, not shame." Slowly she changed, not quickly, not magically, but steadily. Her steps grew firmer, her sleep deeper, her laughter real. 3 moons passed, then 4. One morning, as she adjusted her wrapper, she froze. Her hands lingered at her waist. Something was different. She stared at herself, heart pounding. Her body felt stronger, her face sharper. She rushed outside. "Tambe," she breathed. "Look." He smiled, not surprised. "You were always here. You're just meeting yourself." The day she entered the palace hall openly again, silence fell like a drumbeat. Heads turned, conversations died. Nkiru walked slowly, deliberately. Her shoulders were back, her eyes were clear. King Obasi stood. For a heartbeat he did not recognize her, not because she was thinner, but because she was present. "My daughter." His voice broke. Tears spilled freely as he crossed the hall and pulled her into his arms. "Forgive me," he whispered, "for every moment I could not protect you." She clung to him, shaking. "You tried, father." That night the kingdom buzzed again. Former suitors returned, their words suddenly sweet. Zainabu approached her at a festival, smiling nervously. "Nkiru, it's been so long. We were children. Surely you remember." "I remember," Nkiru said calmly. "That is why we are not friends." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Strength tasted better than revenge. King Obasi summoned Tambe soon after. "You refused wealth," the king said. "You refused marriage." "Why?" Tambe bowed. "Because kindness that demands payment is a transaction, not a virtue." The king studied him, then laughed deeply. "Take this," he said, placing wealth at Tambe's feet. "Build something that lasts." And Tambe did. As for Nkiru, she returned to her studies, hunger sharpened now, not for food, but for knowledge. Years later, under soft lantern light at a village charity gathering, she met a quiet teacher named Sadiq. He listened more than he spoke, and when he looked at her there was no calculation, only respect. The rest would unfold in time. The first time Nkiru noticed Sadiq, he was not looking at her. That, in itself, startled her. The charity gathering buzzed with laughter and movement, lanterns swaying gently in the warm night air. Nkiru moved through the crowd with the calm authority she had grown into, greeting villagers, accepting thanks, listening to stories of children she had helped return to school. She was used to eyes lingering on her now, some in admiration, some in regret. But Sadiq sat on a low bench at the edge of the courtyard, listening to an elderly man speak with animated hands. He nodded, occasionally asking quiet questions, never interrupting. When Nkiru finally approached, the old man beamed. "Your Majesty, this is Sadiq. He teaches our children to read when the rains keep them from the farms." Sadiq stood quickly, bowing low. "I am honored." She studied him. Plain robe, calm eyes, no nervous flattery. "Sit," she said, gesturing beside her. They spoke that night, not of her transformation, not of her past, not of the palace, but of books, of children who learned slowly, of how patience could change a life. When she laughed, he smiled, not because she was a queen, but because the sound pleased him. Over the next months, they met often, always simple, always honest. One evening, as they walked along the riverbank, Nkiru stopped. "Why don't you look at me the way others do?" she asked quietly. Sadiq considered her words. "How do others look at you?" "As if they discovered something valuable too late." He met her gaze fully then. "I see someone who survived. That is enough." Her breath caught. For the first time, fear returned, not of rejection, but of being truly seen. When Sadiq asked for her hand, it was not in the palace, not before drums or elders. It was beneath the same udala tree where she once cried in her father's arms. King Obasi listened as Nkiru spoke, her voice steady. "He does not worship my crown," she said. "He respects my soul." The king closed his eyes, relief washing over his face. "Then I give my blessing." The wedding filled Ifara with music, not loud but joyful. Children danced freely. Women sang songs of endurance. Tambe stood at the back, smiling quietly beside his wife, watching the girl he once met, crying by the gate, walk forward as a queen in truth, not just title. As Queen Nkiru's reign began, her first decree surprised many. "No child," she said firmly before the council, "will be mocked for what they cannot change. Not in my schools, not in my markets, not in my palace." Some elders shifted uncomfortably. She did not waver. Years later, when people spoke of her reign, they did not begin with her beauty or her marriage. They spoke of fairness, of listening, of a queen who remembered what it felt like to be small. And sometimes, late at night, Nkiru would stand alone by the palace window, watching the moon rise, remembering the girl who once believed she was invisible. She would smile gently and whisper, "You survived." The world had mocked the seed, but it now knelt before the forest. If this story moved you, if Queen Nkiru's journey reminded you of your own struggles, take a moment to like this video, because it helps stories like this reach others who need them. Subscribe for more powerful African folk tales filled with meaning, growth, and transformation. And comment below, what part of Nkiru's journey stayed with you the most? Your voice matters, just like hers did. The story ends, but its lesson lives on.